Welcome to the e416 Huddles Equipping, a place to learn, build up, and be prepared. My name is Linda Garrett-Johnson, and I'm the owner and principal consultant for the Word Applied Incorporated. And while my background is in organizational development and process improvement, my heart and passion is for building up people. So you only need turn on your television set and you are faced right away when you turn on the news with some story of people either being out of food, out of work, out of money, out of a job. Severe, what's looking like hopelessness. And it can make you feel like, if you continue to just dwell on that you just want to go back to bed and pull the covers over your head and just say, you know what, I don't feel like dealing with this. So that's why E416 Huddles. We are going to come together and we are going to learn how to equip one another. We are going to join together positively with one another. We're going to share with one another and we're going to grow together. We're also going to learn how to positively unite together, inspire one another, and in the end, give each other hope. We're also going to understand where our weak links are in our communities and in our cities and in our states and around the world, and what we can do about that, what impact we can have on those weak links. And then we're going to learn how to lock arms and huddle together and what that means. And the mission of this is the survival of our families, the survival of our communities, the survival of our neighborhoods, our cities, and quite frankly, the human race. Our definition of equipping is to build us up so we are able to effectively come together in ways that positively impact our families, our neighbors, and our communities. So equipping focuses on 4 categories, and I'll explain those 4 categories at a high level on this slide and go into more detail on the subsequent slides. The first one is to provide what is helpful. The second is to prepare, help us to prepare and become ready. The third is educate, training or instruction, and the final one is building up our endurance. Providing what is helpful to nurture and positively inspire your soul. We need to spend time in prayer or meditation focused on the things that bring peace to our soul. There's so much out there that can really consume us and weigh us down. What we want to do is start spending time in either prayer or meditation, whatever it is that focuses you on bringing peace to your soul. We also want to look for the stories, the information that brings hope or inspires us. Again, there's a lot out there that we can look at that will bring us down, that weighs us down, that gets us into a place of fear. But what we want to do is start looking for stories, looking for information, looking for things that inspires us and gives us hope. And then the other thing that we want to do is take a few hours from the negative so our soul and our body can recharge. We really need to do that. We need to unplug for a few hours from the negativity so that our soul and our body can recharge. The other thing that we want to do is preparing for the bumps along the way. Now, just because we're focusing on what's positive and what brings peace to our soul, it doesn't mean that we don't prepare. But preparing in this case means thinking ahead so that we're not caught off guard. But again, not in ways that brings panic or fear to us. We don't want to panic. We don't want to live in fear, but we want to be prepared for what's coming. And as we hear stories and as we get information, as we ingest information, we want to say to ourselves, so what does that mean? How do I need to prepare now? But we don't want to panic. Again, if we go back to the providing piece, we also want to balance that out with what's bringing peace to our soul. We also want to think about people who are less fortunate and how we can help them. You know, that gets to one of the things that I was looking at in some of the other slides, in our introduction rather, where it looks at how is it that we are only as strong as our weakest link. So how is it that we can look outside of ourselves and think about ways that we might be able to help others who are less fortunate than ourselves. So as we're preparing, there may be people that we know or that we start thinking about in our neighborhoods and in our communities that maybe aren't able to prepare the way that we can. So what are ways that we can do to help others around us that may be less fortunate than us, that may be struggling? How can we help them to prepare? And also look for ways to share helpful, again, not panicked or fearful information, but helpful information with others. So the last two categories are educating and building up. Educating is taking in training and instruction. So do things like reading, studying to build wisdom within yourself that positively develops your soul. Again, there's so much out there that we can look at, that we can read, that channels the negativity in our spirit and in our soul. But what we want to do is start looking at what gives us wisdom, what's helpful to us, what doesn't weigh us down, what helps to positively develop our soul. And what are the ways that we can gain knowledge that can be used to positively impact ourselves, our families, our neighborhood, and our communities? So gaining knowledge that we can then take and use in a positive way. I'll give an example. There's a couple of things that I've been seeing people doing, like sending meals to one another, or kids in the neighborhood that are writing wonderful, pretty artwork and stories on people's driveways, or someone who is sick and you then take do shopping for them or take meals to them because maybe they can't leave the house right now. So looking at those types of stories that are out there and then thinking about how can I positively impact our family or our neighborhood or our community based on some of the stories that and the information, the knowledge that we're gaining. And then also, and this is really important, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, so don't let yourself be fooled or get caught up in them. And this is the way that you want to think about it. If it's something that really starts to weigh you down and really makes you start to doubt what some of the experts are saying about a particular topic or area, you want to focus on the real experts, and you want to look at who the source is. Really start to challenge yourself to look at the source. And if you're only ingesting information from one area or one place, I want to challenge you to really look at that and whether or not that means that you have a balanced source of information. Because again, you could be being fed a daily dose or a daily diet of conspiracy theories, and you don't want to be fooled by that. You don't want to be caught up in that. And again, what you want to become in the end is a positive, lifelong learner. And so then the next thing is building up your endurance. And this has to do with taking care of your physical body by thinking about how you're eating, how you're sleeping, are you exercising, are you walking enough? You only get one body. And if you're letting yourself get weighed down, if you're letting yourself get in fear, if you're letting yourself get panicked, if you're finding that you can't sleep at night, that you're not eating correctly, if you're not walking or exercising or doing anything to take care of your physical body, then you're not building up your endurance. You're actually breaking your body down. Now, I am not a doctor. I am not a medical doctor, so I'm not trying to give any medical advice. But these are the things that you want to start looking at for yourself, is just taking care of your physical body. The other thing is that you want to feed your soul a daily diet of encouraging, faith-building words. That can come in the form of a lot of things. It can come in the form of daily devotionals. It can come in the form of reading your Bible or whatever source that you ingest that gives you hope and that builds your faith and that builds your encouragement, and that comes in many forms and many ways for different people. I'm not saying that we all have to follow the same way. Those were just a few examples, but the way that you want to think about it is feed your soul a daily diet of things that encourage you and that positively build your faith. The other thing is just to stop and pray or to meditate. If you don't pray, then meditate. Meditate means to slow down and just block out all the things that are going on outside. Turn the TV off, turn the radio off, and just sit still for a minute and just breathe. And just allow yourself to not take in anything negative for those few moments of time, you know. And so that prayer or meditation, but doing that daily. And again, that comes in many forms for everyone, but find the way that works for you, what's comfortable to you. And then the final thing is become a voice of encouragement to others. There's, again, like I said, so much negativity going on. Now, being a voice of encouragement doesn't mean that you don't act like what's happening in the world is not happening. I'm not saying that, because those can be times where, you know, we go to somebody and maybe say they've lost a loved one, and we just want to say to them, you know, everything's going to be fine and you don't have to worry about that. That's not necessarily the time to say something like that to someone. So we have to have some balance as we're looking at becoming the voice of encouragement to others, you know. But what I'm talking about is just looking at, you know, and if you're not familiar with that, there can be ways to kind of look up what are words of encouragement that can be helpful. And maybe what you want to do is, before you speak, stop for a second, listen to what that little inner voice is saying to you about that situation, and then speak to the person about encouraging them. And you know, sometimes the best way to be a voice of encouragement is just to say to somebody, I hear you, I love you, I care about you, you're not in this alone. And that's all you have to say sometimes. You don't have to have the answer. You don't have to be the one to fix it, because sometimes people don't want to be fixed. They just want to know that someone sees them, that someone cares about them enough to call them and just to check in and say, you know what, you were on my heart and I just wanted to know, how are you doing? You know, how are things going? And just let them talk. And then just when they're done, you don't have to fix it. That's the other thing too. Being a voice of encouragement to others doesn't mean that you have to then, when they say everything that's going on in their life, that you have to suddenly have an answer for everything. That's not what that means. It just means letting them know that you care about them, that you see them, that you have a heart for them, that you have compassion for them. Now, say there's a neighbor or a friend that you have, and you call them up and they say, you know, I don't have any food, my kids are hungry, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, and I just don't know, you know, I haven't been paid for weeks and we're struggling over here. Now, if you have the means to give them a bag of groceries, then by all means tell them that. You know, say, yeah, I can give you a bag of groceries. Or maybe you know of someone else that can give them a bag of groceries, and so you connect those two people together, you know. But it doesn't mean that you have to have the answers all the time. Sometimes being a voice of encouragement just means that you are letting them know that you see them, you care about them, you love them as a person, and that they're not walking this alone. I am a certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, process improvement, and organizational development consultant with 25 years of experience. I'm a mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, a fur mommy to Foxy, and a fun fact about me is I am the owner of Jima Gear, a clothing line for women who are definitely not grandma as usual. So as you think about what you've heard today, I hope that you will join me in this movement that we're calling e416 Huddles. I also want to encourage you to check out my website, which is www.applytheword.com. There's other resources and information out there as well. And also, if you want to connect with me personally, there's my email address, which is connect@applytheword.com. And don't forget to share my YouTube channel. Don't forget to like the content that you see on it. And please also subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's really important. and we hope that you will come back and check out some of the other content that we'll be posting about E416 huddles.